financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is ditching the credit card debt. Very topical given the state of the economy. Good morning, Brian.
Good morning, Ken. Topical is not just the truth. It is we're headed into spending season. We are in credit card debt up to our eyeballs
How
again.
happy he is.
It is
How excited.
because I love helping people get out of debt.
And you forgot something.
What did I forget?
You hate credit card debt.
I do hate credit card debt, and I do hate banks. So it's kind of a all-in-one encompassing show.
If there's
for me
any
today.
banks out there that happen to have any of Brian's money, feel free to just take it. Jeffrey Linden, good morning.
Good morning, Ken.
Jeffrey Kirshner,
Good morning. How are you?
all good. You?
Good. It seems topical when you see more and more ads for credit cards all the time, and ads on the internet, on TV, on radio, just pushing cards more often.
Lots of issues there. All right, so the average credit card interest as of the last couple of weeks is up to 22.21%. That's the highest ever. As far as Lending Tree goes, this is where I got the information from. It's the highest since they've been tracking since 2019, but I went back and it's the highest ever. If you've got really good credit, you'll be glad to know that your average credit card interest rate will only be 18.66%. And if you have crummy credit, your average APR is at 25.76%, which is a big difference.
Now let's just give the
That's
consumer
just now.
give the consumer a little history on this. If you go back to February of this year, the average credit card interest rate was approximately 16.6%.
I was going to say 14.7 actually.
It may have been even
Yeah.
lower, but
It's all because of the inflation.
I mean, so we go from 14.7 to 22.1. That's a lot of juice.
Let me give you a little interesting tidbit. I went back, I didn't cover it in the outline, but I did wrote a piece for another publication. What do you think the average interest rate was in 1980?
1980. Oh, I'll go with 14%.
I feel like it was 18.
I'm going to bid $1.
$1. What's the show?
Price
Price is Right. If you go over, you lose, don't you?
Yeah.
Correct. That's why.
Goes to Brian. I believe it was around 17%. But here was the interest. Here's the interest. The Fed borrowing rate at that time was 7.8%, I believe was the number. The Fed borrowing rate now is 3.3%. If you look at it proportionately, where our Fed rate is now to where it could be going relative to that interest rate and to mortgage interest rates, you're going to be looking at potentially credit card interest rates well into the 30s.
Yeah, it was so bad I couldn't get a credit card in 1980.
Do you remember what your first mortgage interest rate was?
I was 13.
I believe I was on my first mortgage I took out a variable, and it started at around 7.8% because it was in early 1980s.
And I bought my first house in 1992, and it was, I want to say 8.2 to 8.25%.
Yeah.
So we're headed higher than that.
So here's how I see. First of all, these numbers did not absorb the last Fed increase completely, and there's another. Everyone says there's another Fed increase coming.
Yeah.
At least one, because inflation. They've got to get control of inflation. The credit card industry is going to have a little bit of a quandary of how high they are willing to go if they want to still attract new customers and get those cards out.
Oh,
There's a certain market that anyone's going to take the card if you give it to them, no matter what the interest rate is. But there's also going to be, I think there's going to be a pushback when they try and bump rates over 30%. I think you'll see 29.9% as the average interest rate.
Well, there's going to be two problems. One is attracting certain people to getting those credit cards as opposed to other options. Number two is if you increase the interest rate so extremely high that there's going to be overwhelming amount of people that are going to max out their credit cards fairly quickly and not be able to pay them because it happens too quickly for them.
That's the absolute.
Well, you're going to see one other
two
thing.
consequences.
There'll be an additional adjustment. You know how the average minimum monthly payment is roughly 2.5% of your
It's going to
debt?
go up.
They're going to raise the average minimum monthly payment another percent or so to try to fight the fact that your credit
So
card...
they're at least reducing the balance a little
Right,
bit.
because otherwise at 30%, your bill just goes up, even if you just
Yeah.
pay the
Yeah,
minimum
you'll never
monthly
keep
payment.
But
Or they'll do,
I think you're right. They're going to raise the minimum payment. I think people are going to tap out the cards faster.
yeah. And I think what they'll do is an enticement to hedge against the resistance to get into high interest rate credit cards are doing what a lot of the products manufacturers and sellers are doing. They're offering sort of short-term interest refinancing on a credit card sponsored by a bank, but the interest rate, as long as you make your payments, the interest rate's 30%, 29.9%. If you default, you get hit with that plus a penalty, but there's a short period of time that if you pay off quickly, then you don't
Well,
get
They're
it.
going to give you that incentive.
Incentive
There's
to get
even
the
these,
card, right.
like, all right, on my home equity line that I have, I got a letter that said, hi, your interest rate's going up, but your payment's not going to change.
Right.
All that did was mean that it costs more interest and it's going to take longer to pay it off.
Yeah, it's a ripoff is what it is.
Right.
They're going to do that, and there's a third factor that's going to happen. They're going to cut available credit. Go back to the Great Recession, 2012, 2013. People were paying their cards on time. They had available credit. The banks were getting worried about default rates increasing, so they send letters out saying, Mr. Jones, we value you're a great customer and everything else, but we've decided to reduce your credit to $3 more than you currently owe us. Please continue to make your payments on time. That's going to come because as people tap out those available credits, the banks are going to know we don't want to be the ones that don't get paid. So then Bank of America cuts, Chase cuts. It goes on and on. We'll take a break, we'll come back, and we'll figure out what to do about it.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
I was married for 57 years before my husband died.
Samasco Law had established a trust for them before this happened.
There's so much to do in the beginning, but after about a month, you're kind of alone.
We deal with estate planning and trusts every day.
If you continue to have good support and know that your finances and your estate is in order, that's one thing that's so comforting. I would just highly recommend Samasco Law.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirshner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Yep.
All right, so we're back. So the credit card companies are in a little bit of an interesting situation. They've been charging 14.7 or 17%, whatever, at a time where the Fed borrowing rate was a half a point, where the cost of the money the cost of goods sold, the cost of the money they were available credit was so low compared to the margin of interest rate they're charging, and then factor in the default rate. Now the cost of that money is going to be a lot greater to them. Fed rates keep going up. The margin between what they're paying for the money versus what they're charging is less, and the default rate obviously is going to go up if people start tapping out on their cards because they're paying 30% interest. So the profitability of those cards is going to be adversely affected. They will start charging enormous late fees. They already charge enormous late fees. Whatever the enormous late fee is, multiply it by 2. That's my prediction of what the late fee will be next year. So if it's a $50 late fee, if you're an hour late, it'll be a $100 late fee. Or the greater of 5% of your credit card balance or $100.
Well, that's how banks make money. They make money off of fees.
Yeah.
This will be
it's gonna
great
a big
for the
problem.
banks in the long run.
All right, so let's talk about the person who's got the credit card. Let's talk about the juice. The juice is going to kill you. $50,000 of credit card debt, 22.21% interest is $11,050 per year of interest. If you're in a 25%, that's after tax. If you're in a 25% tax bracket, you have to make $14,733 to net the $11,000 to pay on your credit card.
No, that's not the payment. That's just the interest.
The minimum payment's higher, 2.5. If you're right and it's going to go to 3.5%, that's going to be $16,500 a year in minimum payments, divided by 0.75 means it's going to cost you $20,000 of income to service $50,000 of credit card debt. Now let's say you're making $100,000. 20% of your gross income is going to cover the juice in the minimum payment on the card for the money you've already borrowed. How are you going to make your mortgage payment, your car payments, put food on the table, pay your cable bill, pay your Netflix bill, pay your Primerica bill, electric bill, health insurance? Not going to be easy.
You're getting depressing.
Primerica bill? That's like life
Prime.
insurance.
not Primerica, Prime.
Okay. Amazon.
Amazon Prime. Yeah. Thank God, that's much more.
I mean, don't you realize that in like a couple more years, if you don't have Amazon, you're going to like go to jail?
Right.
It's going to be
Well,
like automatic.
You don't usually talk about life insurance, so I was sure surprised.
No, I was thinking Amazon. What are we going to do, Brian?
Well, I mean, you
Here's
got a
the question.
combination. Don't forget, interest rates are going up here, right? And inflation isn't stagnating right now. So everything's costing more. You're spending more for those goods and services in the first place, and you're trying to keep up. And your balances that you have on your credit cards, they're not going down. They're going up now dramatically. So we're going to have to draw a line in the sand and do something.
Here's the point. These factors that we're saying are true 9 months ago before inflation took off. They're just going to be accelerated from the standpoint of the problem because the interest rates are going to go up, the available credit's going to end up going down. It's all going to buckle into, if the predictions of a recession are correct, then jobs are going to start declining, and all of a sudden there's too great of a risk that a lot of people are going to be back into the situation that we saw in 2012 and 2014. The big question is, it doesn't really matter. If you were carrying $50,000 of credit card debt a year ago, or if you're doing it now, you're making a critically bad mistake financially.
And it's not just $50,000 for the credit card debt. It's $10,000, $15,000, $20,000. It all has the same impact based on what you're.
$100,000 and $75,000.
It's based on your income. If you're making $40,000 a year and you've got $15,000 for the credit card debt, you're in just as bad of a spot as a guy who's making $200,000 a year carrying $100,000 for the credit card debt.
I think you're in a worse spot if you're making 40 carrying 15,000 in credit card debt.
Yeah, maybe
because
so.
you don't have any you don't have any flexibility there.
Right.
There's nothing to move the money around. At least if you're making the 200 and you've got that credit card debt, you've got at least a year where you can move balances from one card to the next before they catch up with you. But the point is your financial picture. Your financial picture is, if you're paying that money, say you're paying that $20,000 a year on the credit cards, you're not bringing the balances down because you're taking all your disposable cash to pay the credit cards and your current bills. And probably the credit card balances are going up, so that means you're not even covering your nut. So you're going to go 10 years, you're going to waste $200,000. You go 20 years, you're going to waste $400,000. What's going to be in your savings account? Any predictions?
Zero.
Nothing.
No, the credit cards that you can't use, those
Yeah.
will be in your savings account.
Get rid of the credit card debt, and then that money goes into savings. And with high interest rates, you can maybe put it into a savings account rather than putting it into the market and watching it go down at the rate of 10 to 15% a week. That will turn around. I mean, Pat's not here this week to make us feel comfortable about it, so we can just panic about it. All right, so now it's going to turn the focus. How do we get rid of the credit card debt? We're coming up to a break, but I'm going to come back to you, Brian. I've been told there's 2 ways to get rid of credit card debt.
Well, I would say there's at least 2.
Three.
There's 3.
Die. It was always your favorite one, but that doesn't make the credit cards go completely away.
Right.
Chapter 13 bankruptcy and debt resolution.
Well, also Chapter 7 bankruptcy, but today we'll talk about Chapter 13
And-
and debt resolution.
And Powerball.
I like
There
that.
you go.
Who knows the winning numbers?
Oh, that's me.
I know last week's
But I'm
winning
not
numbers.
telling.
Okay. All right, we'll take a break and think about those winning numbers.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We were just spinning. We just didn't know what was going to happen next.
At Samasco Law, we deal with these issues every day, especially elder law. Pat went to work for Fran.
Patrick was there holding my hand, kept saying, "We'll get through this, we'll get through this."
He got her husband Medicaid and in a nursing home. Samasco Law got the success they deserved.
Samasco Law is definitely family to me. I really appreciate knowing all of you.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us to Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 a.m. and Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m. and on KISS 105.9, Sundays 7 o'clock a.m. Remember, you can always come into the office for a free consultation, or if you're concerned about COVID or any other issues, you can do a teleconference or a phone conference, but you're more than welcome to come on in. We're doing conferences live and in person. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business law issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirschner. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-4357. Also, go online for free reports. Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by myself and Jeff Linden. Bankruptcy, Is It Right for Me by Brian. How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations and Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit and Michigan, and The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Simasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasco Law, and Kirschner Law. Now back to the show.
Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. So what do? We got this credit card debt.
We're
How
going
do we get rid of
to
it?
we're going to look at the three traditional methods: Chapter 7, Chapter 13, and debt resolution. One of the biggest problems about filing Chapter 7 today is people have too much equity in their home because of the growth in the housing market, leading us to the majority of people looking at Chapter 13 or debt resolution. Chapter 13 is that reorganization where you repay some or all of the debt over 3 to 5 years, and it's based on what you can afford. The pragmatic realities is with so much equity position
In the house.
quite often the best solution actually is debt resolution, which we settle the debts for pennies on the dollar. So,
Because let me interrupt. The goal that we always approach it is what's the cheapest, fastest solution.
I like to use least costly, most effective solution.
Fine.
Because he likes more words.
I don't like cheapest.
Actually, those were my words.
You
They
like
were.
more words.
But, okay, so the least costly, most effective. So you're saying sometimes Chapter 13 will cost you more, so then we do debt resolution.
Yeah, I mean, it's a balance.
All right,
What we
how
do
does
is
debt resolution work?
we have you come in, we do an analysis of your income and expenses, we see what's left over, and then if debt resolution, we try to use the power of the minimum monthly payment to create a kitty of cash to negotiate with your creditors. Instead of you paying the minimum monthly payment, now when you look at your credit card on that box, because interest rates are up so high, it'll say 29, 35, 42 years to pay off your credit card bill. Our goal is to get you out of debt in 2 or less.
With the same minimum monthly payment.
Right.
Because we take that payment and we We don't give it to the credit card companies. We stop paying the cards, and then we use those funds as they accumulate to settle the debts.
Exactly.
Sometimes, so how does it work?
Save up the money. We negotiate with the credit card agencies to provide a settlement.
So you're a debt settlement company?
We're a debt resolution law firm. There's a difference.
The difference is we do it unless we think we can have you out of the debt in 2 years, we won't do it. Because then if you can't be out of the debt in 2 years, in our view, Chapter 13 is a more effective method, generally speaking.
And it usually is. But there's that balancing act now with interest rates going up. It may be a little bit longer of a period of time because the other debt settlement companies work on a plan of 4 years that really doesn't work. And they won't be able to get it done either because of the raising interest rates.
I don't see the raise in the interest rates having an impact, to be honest.
No,
because
the lenders want the money.
Because the factor is how much you owe, and the factor is how much, if you can afford to make the minimum monthly payments through your cash flow, then you have the ability to generate the cash to settle the debt,
Absolutely, and it
which
works
is the key.
all the time.
If you can't make those minimum monthly payments, then you're back into a Chapter 13 or maybe into a Chapter 7. It's for the person who has enough income to make the minimum payments, but realizes that by doing so for the next 10 and 20 years, they're destroying their financial future. They're resigning themselves to working until the day they die, borrowing from their children in order to make their credit card payments, housing payments, and car payments, rather than get rid of the credit card debt, accumulate savings so you get to 68, 70, and you've met the 3-point retirement plan. You own your home free and clear, you have zero debt, and you have some money in the bank. You do those 3 things, you have a retirement that affords some vacation time, gifts to the grandchildren, and no stress about making your payments. Because all you have to pay are the taxes on your house and the insurance. You got no car payment, no credit card payment, no mortgage payment. You got to put food on the table, you got your Social Security check, you got cash in the bank. You do that, your life becomes pleasant in retirement. You don't do it, you're looking at a miserable period in your late stages of life. And you've got to recognize it when you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s so that you don't leave yourself in that position. Is that a fair statement?
100% correct, and it works for everybody at every age, period.
So, the takeaway. Watch what's going on, take a look at those cards, think 10, 20 years ahead, and then come in, call us, and we'll take a look at it and see how we can help you. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.